One of the hardest parts about selling sports cards online is scammers. It gets especially difficult when it comes to trades. Who ships first? Is the condition okay? How do we value our cards? How do we ship our cards? All sorts of things, but Veriswap, a platform that is designed to do trades online, aims to solve those problems. This is an unsponsored, unaffiliated review of my experience on Veriswap. So I'm going to show you a trade that I just made on Veriswap, talk about my experience and what I believe the pros and cons are of the platform. So if you saw my last week's weekly recap video, you would have gotten a preview of this trade. I traded my Victor Wembanyama Skylight Red out of 5 autograph for all of these cards right here and $800 cash. Now I say cash because you don't actually get the full $800 amount. First thing is there's a Stripe fee. So for Veriswap to transfer that payment from the first person to me, I think there's about a 3% Stripe fee. So I think that $800 turned to $785. I'll have the exact numbers up on screen. Let's see the cards that we got. Victor Wembanyama, Green Prism, PSA 10. Sal Frelick, PSA 10 Auto. Austin Riley, Refractor, PSA 10 Auto. Steve Young, out of 8 patch. Joe Burrow, Reactive, PSA 10. Stroud, Prism Silver, PSA 10. Bo Bichette, numbered to 71, PSA 6 Rookie. And Bruce Arians Auto. So if you're looking at my side, I believe I came out ahead strongly. So I was into that Victor Wembanyama for $1,750, and like I said, I got about $750 cash, and these cards value at around $1,500. So my Victor was valued at $2,100 when I made the trade, making this total value at $2,300. So that Victor Wembanyama was a card that I had for a long time, and nobody really wanted to make a strong cash offer. That's why trades can be so beneficial, because usually when you're doing trades, it's more PC for PC as opposed to resellers trying to make money. Now, I am a reseller. I try to make money. So that's where this video's perspective is going to be from. So in terms of doing the trade, all you have to do is upload pictures of your card, enter the information and the value. It's pretty simple from that standpoint. Then you can post and select up to 3 cards and say, hey, I'm trying to trade these. People can then see your posts and click onto them and see your inventory and the rest of your cards that you had. There's also a search function, so you don't only see cards through the post, so you're not restricted to just that. On the post, you can put your preferences, whether you want to trade up, trade down, trade for certain players, get some cash, things like that. So it's a very simple system in that way. You just list out what you're looking for and send it off. People then go and they express interest in your card. Basically, it says, hey, I like this. Take a look at what I have. Tell me if you like it too. So then you go look at their page and you say, okay, you like this card of mine. I like this, this, and this. Some of these maybe add up to the same value, or, all 3 are equal value to my card. So you can pick one, whatever you want to trade for my card. And then you send the express interest back. Then it comes to make an offer. So usually if whoever is expressing interest first will end up having to make the offer first. Now, once I receive an express interest, I could also go ahead and straight up make an offer, but it's usually best to just say, I like this sort of stuff. What do you think? That's kind of more of a negotiation thing as opposed to a Veriswap thing. In my opinion, it's never the best idea to throw out the first number or the first offer. Usually they say whoever does that is the loser. That's personal opinion, but for me, I always like to let the other person offer first. Once the offer is set, you do some negotiating, and let's say you accept the offer like I did with this lot. First things first is Veriswap is going to take their fee. So I believe it's 1.5%. Again, I'll have the exact numbers on screen, but they take 1.5% of the total trade's value. So again, my side was $2,100 and their side was $2,100 in terms of what they listed on Veriswap. Now, I believe I got $2,300 of value, but again, their listed value was $2,100. So they take, 1.5% of $4,200. And I think I got charged around $122 before the trade was completed. So before I shipped anything, before they shipped anything, my trade partner, I got charged that money. Then I have to pay for a shipping label. Veriswap requires you make the shipping label through their app to ensure that everything is smooth and, no wrong address or anything. And that costed me, I think, $13, and they required priority shipping for USPS, and I think they require 2-day for, UPS and FedEx and things like that. Now, if you cancel a trade, there is a fee. They do kind of go back and forth between this, so I'll have the updated information on screen. So there is incentive for people to not cancel trades. I think you get a, strike on your account, like it's listed publicly, how many trades you've backed out of, and as well as a monetary fee to it. So that's a benefit of Veriswap. Veriswap is then going to receive the cards from me and from the other person, going to confirm that all of the details we said are true, confirm the PSA slabs are authentic and there's no cracks or anything like that, confirm any raw cards. In this case, my card was the raw card being sent out, confirm that it matches the condition that I listed it at. Now, this is one of the cons that I've heard about, not personally experienced with Veriswap, but have a lot of, I've only done a few trades, but a lot of people have said this, is that their condition checking is not very good. So for example, they might for example, you can list raw cards anywhere from a PSA 1 or a 1 all the way up to an 8. They don't let you list beyond 8. And you're required to have up to 5 pictures or 6 pictures, I think, if the card is above a certain value point. The problem is you could just take a picture of a black screen and that could be your 6 pictures. They don't check the pictures. There's no requirement for what those pictures actually are. It could be the same picture over and over and over again. So you might not actually be getting a good idea of the condition. Second, Veriswap has their own condition guidelines, so when you think of 8, you might be thinking of a PSA 8 or a BGS 8, but their guideline is different. The PSA 8 might not have 2 scratches on the back, but their 8, that could be 2 scratches. So it is important to make sure you're looking through these pictures or asking for additional photos or updated photos before you're making your deal. In terms of the overall platform, another con is a lot of people are pretty difficult. Now, as I mentioned, this platform is more for people who are looking to trade for their personal collection as opposed to reselling. So a lot of people are very, very high on their card's value. They don't know how to comp a card, and sometimes they're just rude. I like to think of myself as a very kind person, and I'm not trying to tell somebody your card is worth this. But in a negotiation, I like to say, this is what I see the last few sales at. This is what I believe. This is what I would value it at. Can you tell me how you got to your value? Am I missing something? And some people don't want to hear it. They just say, they go off on you. And there's not really a restriction or filter system in terms of that. And at the end of the day, your card is your card and you're going to value it how you want to value it. With that being said, though, that's not everybody on the platform. There's definitely a good chunk of people who are easy to work with, fairly value their cards, but in my experience, majority of people have overpriced cards. Another good thing is that $122 that I said I was charged before the completion of the trade, there are fee credits you can get for referring people to eliminate that cost. So I think I had like $30 of trade credits, so that kind of went to my $122 there. So you kind of have to refer some people, but that's not an easy thing, obviously. I think you get $15 per referral. Another thing, that $800 cash that I mentioned, I don't receive that until after the trade is complete. So I said that $122 I was charged instantly, but the $800 I don't receive until the end of the trade. So with a 1-week processing time from my experience about how long it takes from once they get the cards to once they ship them back to you, if you're going to be out that money or you need that money quicker, this might not be the best way for you. Now, it's not a slow system by any means. I think, again, within a week turnaround is very, very good, especially when you compare it with like PSA vaults or, PSA submissions or grading submissions in general. There are a lot of things that have a long turnaround time, or you're uploading to a consignment on eBay. That can take up to a week too, and then you have to wait for the auction. So it's not super long. In the grand scheme of things, it's a relatively quick system. But again, if you're gonna need that cash within a week, you might be better off trying to do an in-person trade. That's my opinion on Veriswap. I think there's a lot of pros and a lot of cons, and it's still a system that I'm going to try out and work through. If you guys have experience or have any questions, please feel free to leave them down below. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts or answer any questions that I maybe have missed or have the know-how to do so. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.